Says we're live.
Okay. And Obadiah is going to cry. Hey guys,
No, he's
thanks so
laughing.
much for your patience there. It took us a few minutes to get this set up because I was trying to do it directly through Facebook instead of Zoom because, like everyone else, I'm tired of Zoom, but it didn't work. So we went back to Zoom and my password didn't work on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't know. So, welcome everybody. I'm Tony from ministrytochildren.com, and this is Bethany Darwin, the best-selling author from the Sunday School Store. And we're here today to talk about a little bit about Halloween and a little bit about a new curriculum that Bethany has coming out. And I'll just tell you the story to get this started, Bethany. I try to walk every day, and I was walking in my neighborhood. And just within the past weekend, I guess the weather was nice, and everybody started putting up these Halloween decorations. And I don't even know if trick-or-treating is going to be a thing in our town, but everybody's got the decorations, so they're creeping out their houses. And it's really a creepy time. And like as adults, we kind of process and say, it's fake spider webs. And except for at 5 a.m, I'm walking up and there's this clown face on these people's door and they have a light coming up to it. And this is a clown from some movie. I don't know the thing, but it creeped me out.
Yeah, that would scare me.
I said, I'm glad I'm a 42-year-old man who has the life experience to know spooky clowns aren't real. But I can imagine very seriously, kids are freaked out by this. I mean, I have kids on my school bus who thinks every yellow car is Bumblebee the Transformer.
True.
For real.
Yeah.
They're kindergartners, first graders, but Halloween.
It's hard to tell the difference between real and fake.
It is, and there's a lot of reasons not to like Halloween from a Christian perspective, and I don't want to jump into all of those. Yeah. But I think I like what you've done this year, where you're maybe the answer not is to bash Halloween because Christians have done that forever. Let's give a positive alternative. Let's talk about in a culture that's obsessed with faith or with fear. A culture that's obsessed. I wish they were obsessed. They're obsessed with fear. Let's say, okay, let's talk about faith. Let's talk about how God's people have overcome real life fears, not spooky clown stuff, but real like persecution and terrible things. And I think that's where we're going today. So Bethany, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your processing when you write this curriculum.
Yeah. So as most of you know, a couple months ago, we released Faith Over Fear. And I think that's been a big hit with a lot of churches. A lot of churches have been using that, and it's been exciting to see the response. And in that, we walked through 5 of the stories that we see in Hebrews 11 of people who lived by faith through difficult times. But we didn't get so much into like the difficulties that they dealt with. We mainly just focused on their faith and their faith in a big God that was bigger than all of their fears. So when Tony suggested we do a continuation of this for kind of a Halloween curriculum, I did not want to do anything that was going to be too Halloween-y. I didn't want to do anything that was too focused on fear. But I also thought, there are real fears that kids are dealing with. And so what we did with this is I looked at, again, 4 of the stories from Hebrews 11. So still stuck with that Hebrews 11 idea of faith. And so it's a continuation really of Faith Over Fear, but it's also a standalone. And as Tony's showing right now, what we did is I looked at 4 of these stories and what the fear was or one of the fears that these people could have been facing. Noah could have been facing a fear of being different. And that's something that a lot of kids are dealing with, whether it's differently abled or if it's racial or if it's socioeconomic level, if it's, there's all kinds of things, I'm 10 years old and I still really like to watch Sesame Street and people think that's weird. I'm 45 and I still like Sesame Street too.
It's the best. It's really the best. It's a pioneering program. Yeah. It's so advanced. Okay.
But anyway, there's things that people could tease us for. So what I've done with these lessons is they're the exact same format as the Faith Over Fear. So you have introductory activities, large group, and small group. But in the small groups, I've started each week with a section that says Fear Connection. And it's just a chance to talk to your kids about fears that they could be having. So are you afraid of being different? What are some ways that you are different? Do people tease you? So it just has some prompts to get teachers talking with their kids, and hopefully helping them to see that God is bigger than these fears. Um, so yeah, Tony's going through that right there. I think
Yeah,
that's
I
still
thought
going
I'd bring
through.
it up because I told you we were going to do a screen share, and I said,
Yeah,
hey,
there we go.
I'll get it, because I feel like we do these and then we're just talking. I watch them
Yeah,
later and I said,
yeah.
that's boring even for me, and I like myself and I like you, but
Nobody wants to
talk,
watch us talk all the
no,
time.
no, 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 no. But we're just looking inside here. So what I've done is
Yeah.
I've brought up the digital files, and everything on Sunday School store is instant download. So these don't come in the mail, but you can print them off. You check out a few minutes later, you can print it off,
Yeah.
and you're ready to go. Um, but the lesson format, like you said, is consistent with the Faith Over Fear series, which
Right.
is it's really expositional, and I
Yeah.
don't think we've said that enough. That this is not just some piecemeal. Let's grab a bunch of scriptures. This is kids learning Hebrews 11, which is a God ordained index of heroes of the faith. And
Right.
as you dig into all their stories, you see they're not perfect, but they trusted God and His promises, and it worked out better. So.
Yeah, and because we wanted the 2 units to be standalone. So we're not going verse by verse like in order through Hebrews, because we wanted to make sure that each unit would stand alone and have its own kind of identity, even though the format is exactly the same, and together they do go through Hebrews 11. So yeah, like
Yeah.
Tony said, each lesson would start with an introduction activity. Then there's large group. There's suggested songs to sing, scriptures to read, kind of a script for teaching. And then there's lessons for 2 different age groups for small groups, kind of like a 4 or 5 till 7, and then or 8, and then a 8 and older. So, depending on how your group divides up, that would work well. But if you see right here, right where Tony is right now, each one starts with a fear connection. So this one, ask the kids in your group if they've been in a situation where someone thought they were different, maybe because they go to church or someone teased them about something. Some of our older kids could already be facing persecution for coming to church, even if they're not believers themselves. And that's something we need to remember. Kids can be harsh with each other, and they
Absolutely.
can tease each other like, oh, you're that perfect kid that doesn't come to baseball practice on Sunday, or, whatever it is. Or, you're such a prude. Oh, prude probably isn't a word that they use anymore, but anyway, that's what I would have used.
If the
You know,
vocabulary's
you're a
there, maybe.
square. No,
Yeah.
that's even before my time. But yeah, because
They
you don't watch this TV show, or whatever.
right.
Um, so I think this is a good way to get that conversation going in small groups, and then point out that like the Bible is full of people who stood up against these kind of things and stood up for God. Um, you know, Noah likely took what, 3 years to build the ark in the middle of the desert, and people had to have been teasing him. The Bible doesn't tell us a lot about it, but it gives us a little bit about their teasing. Um, but then the rest of the lesson just gets into who God is, that God is faithful, that God is bigger than our fear. Um, and then just the same as the faith over fear, there's a take-home page with daily readings, questions, activities for families, and all the printables that you would need. So it's kind of a print and teach curriculum. We would hope you would study it and be prepared, but it's also one that you could easily just pull out
Yeah.
and do.
And I love this because there's not a lot of extra materials needed.
Right.
It's pretty straightforward. If your church has a printer, you can have this up and running in a matter of maybe 30 minutes. You'll be ready.
Yeah.
Now, better if you take some time and
Yeah.
digest it and pray
Read
through.
the Bible and things like that.
Read the Bible. I know, but the reality is, a lot of people they're struggling for time anyway,
Yeah.
and their Sunday school responsibilities sometimes get on the back burner to getting their kids dressed for church. I understand that.
Right.
And I do love that you have all these great visuals in here. It's not just words. It's you have all these learning activities, and every time I look at these, Bethany, I think this is more content than I could cover in an hour.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And this is really this is really a full curriculum
You
in
know,
every
and
sense.
the format of these lessons, I mean, just for a little bit of background for those that don't know, I mean, for what, 20 something years, I was a full-time children's minister. And the last 12, I was at a church where I was writing our curriculum. And that's where I kind of got into this, this writing style. And I mean, we were in a church where we were told that the service would be, an hour 15, hour and a half, but
Right.
often it would go an hour 45 or 2 hours, by the time kids were picked up. And so I've gotten into a habit of writing lessons that really can last up to 2 hours, especially if you stretch out some of the activities. So, I mean, it would be possible to spread these between 2 weeks if you had to. So I could definitely see that being something people could do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this, because we are live on Facebook on Friday. Like I always say it's Friday, but today is
Yeah.
really Friday.
Today really is Friday.
Really Friday. That's my favorite prank on the kids. When they get off the bus on Thursday afternoon, I say, have a great weekend.
Yeah.
And then they get home and they say, oh, not again.
Not Friday. Oh,
It's not Friday. Yeah, but if we are Facebook Live right now, so I appreciate you guys dropping in, and please leave a comment or a question if you have it, or advice for us as we roll out this curriculum, because we really want this to be as useful as possible. And I mean, kind of going back to our philosophy of how our curriculum works. This is there's lots of gimmicks, and Halloween's one of those times where it's really tempting to do gimmicks. And when I was in children's ministry, and sometimes I would do those. I would do fun activities, and but then after I matured in ministry, I said, you know what, Pickle Palooza was an epic thing.
Yeah.
But
what did it teach about the gospel?
I would rather have relevance through relationships and relevance through dealing with real issues. Right. So I know Disney princesses, TikTok, all that stuff is really hot and cool and impressive, and the kids will open their eyes for that. But I think that the more valuable strategy would be to say, okay, let's talk about fear. Let's talk about a real problem in your life and show that the gospel and the promises of God are that. And I love this scripture verse, by the way, and a beautiful graphic you've created for this.
Thanks.
From Psalm 27:1. This is the theme verse for the unit. Yeah. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Now, this is ESV. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, I did ESV for this whole unit.
Yeah. So this is a great. I love memorizing ESV because it's got enough of the traditional flavors of the King James,
right?
And it's also a real modern translation.
Yeah, it's readable.
Yeah, I think it's a great Bible to stick with. But
and I think that what you were saying about like giving into the things of the day, like that to me just kind of reminds me of the, people will teach to what their itching ears want to hear. I mean, are we just teaching what kids want to hear, or are we actually pointing them to Christ? And I think that should be our question when we evaluate curriculum, when we decide what we're going to teach. I think those are all questions we should ask.
Yeah. Well, and of course we're on the same page. That's why we're working together. But I mean, I think, and I'm not criticizing anybody, because if you're doing children's ministry, you are doing the Lord's work, and just showing up and smiling and saying Jesus loves you. If that's all that happens, hey, that's the best thing. That's wonderful. But I think during this time when we've seen churches closed for 6 months and Sunday schools closed for 9 months, and we say, you know what? Don't waste your Sunday school. I mean, these teaching times are ministry opportunities very rare right now.
Right.
And we see this. I mean, I used to have 4 hours a week when I started in children's ministry. I had 4 hours of programming a week. It ended up being like 2 hours of programming by the time I was done. And even now it's less and less time you have to impact these kids. So we do have games, we have activities, but all of it's designed to teach the lesson. So there's really no wasted time or busy work in anything Bethany writes. Now,
I mean, there very rarely is something that's like, hey, just draw a picture, because that's not the point. They can always do that at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll jump back over to the Sunday school store. So this is available in the Sunday school store, and This is your Faith Over Fear unit. It's the follow-up. I'm sorry, more faith, less fear.
Yeah.
The orange one. The orange one is the follow-up to the blue one.
Yeah, that's my my only nod to Halloween is the orange and the pumpkin. Otherwise, you could take it off and it's nothing Halloween in there. So.
And I've been really impressed with we do ask our customers to come back and rate and review, and you guys can go to Sunday School Store. If you're new to us, you can see that the people who teach this material, they're so impressed with what's happening, and so I encourage you to do that. Now, if you're still on the fence, there's a free download on the free downloads, and I hear Obadiah waking up. So if we need to go,
he's just going to pop in for a visit. This is my son.
He's going to tell us all the toddler stuff.
What he's afraid of.
Yes.
He's struggling with some fears right now too. So about sleeping, but that's different.
You'll get over that. Then your fears when you're my age will be the fear of waking up. But there is a free sample lesson from Faith Over Fear. People can download that. It's a full lesson. It's like 40 pages from the first unit, just to get a real good feel of what you're getting, and also to go through our checkout process, because buying stuff online is new to some people.
Right.
Another thing I wanted to point out, I put together this bundle of Do Not Fear coloring pages, and this is 2 of these are from Mandy Gross, our illustrator, and she has lots of coloring pages. But she's put a scripture verse with a Halloween scene.
Okay.
And that's a great, if you need early arrival stuff, this is free.
Yeah.
And then I've got a few, that looks familiar. The Lord is my strength and my rock.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I've got a couple Bible verses, and that's a free download as well. But
good.
So I think Halloween's coming up fast, and kids are getting all kinds of creepy messages, and it affects them more than we realize as adults.
But I think one thing that's important for us to remember is, somebody may be thinking, well, Halloween's coming up and I'm not going to be able to teach all of this before Halloween.
Right.
This isn't just Halloween specific. You can teach this whenever. And even for those of you that are still doing like virtual teaching, we've given some ideas in there for doing virtual teaching, but one I thought of just yesterday that's not even in there, with these curriculums that have a lot of material. You could really do 20 minutes one week and just go through the large group, and then 20 minutes the next week, and let's practice the memory verse. So you could stretch one lesson out over, 2, 3, 4 weeks if you really needed to. Sorry, my desk is moving because I have a 1-year-old.
I understand. Well, and even with the online teaching, we've tried to do some things with PowerPoint, but I think the easiest thing is if you have a PDF, you can screen share a PDF. So those things are all right there. You can screen share everything. That Bible verse
screen
graphic.
Share, have kids look things up, send to parents, ask parents to print one page, do an activity together. There's a lot of options out there for you. So.
There's a lot of options, and it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
All right, let me jump back to, am I screen sharing or not?
No, you're not.
I can't tell it. It should give me like a big red warning. I was in a children's ministry, church ministry meeting last night, and I was screen sharing something, and I just kept talking, and I was just like started clicking around, and they were like, "Hey, Tony, you're screen sharing."
You're still screen sharing.
Oh my!
Show everybody your bank account.
Yeah, there you go. Here's my password. All right, so a couple questions real quick, because I know Bethany is on limited time today.
Yep.
And Obadiah is needing some attention. So if I have a one-room Sunday school, because lots of our churches are smaller churches, and you have 2 different age groups for the small groups, can this work for a one-room Sunday school?
Yeah, and that's something that I want to write and add on, and maybe I can even put it on the blog on the store. What I would do if I had one room, I would look to see where my largest age group is. If most of my kids are under 8, or if most of my kids are over 8, and then I would primarily use the small group materials for that age group. If you have a good mix, I would stick with the younger age group materials, but I would look at the older age group materials and try to choose one of the activities that maybe you can challenge a few of your kids. Because each lesson has a review activity, a scripture search, which gets them in the Bible, a memory verse, and a prayer. So it would be possible on one of the activities, if you started with getting the younger kids started and then gave the older kids a slightly different activity, maybe one with more reading, more looking in their Bible, things like that. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would stick with the younger one and then kind of just add a bit
There you go.
for a couple of the kids, just to kind of challenge them, give them a little bit of a little, you know, even challenge them to read something and teach the younger kids. I think it's great to encourage older kids to teach and serve as well. So I think that could work too.
All right, so I'm going to, and we like to do this on our long Facebook lives, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do this even for a short one. I'm going to give you guys a coupon code here. So
Woohoo, coupons.
and I want to make sure it works. Oh, I can give you my credit card number too.
Yeah, let's not do that.
In Google. So I'm going to put in the discount more faith, and it's going to give you, if I did it right, that's right.
Here's some results from the web.
Google, I'm not talking to you. So the more faith is going to give you a 20% off. That'll take it down to about $10.
Perfect.
So if you're watching this live stream, that's a little bonus for you guys. And thank you so much for joining us, because I know this is such an important theme right now.
Yeah.
All right, Bethany, one more question before we hop off here, because I want to pin you down. What's next? I mean, we've got so much great stuff.
There are two huge things. I want to make sure people can see my face so they can see how excited I am.
Let me stop my screen share.
Yeah, let me tell you two huge things. Okay, two really huge things, guys. Hopefully in the next week to 10 days, we're going to be releasing our Thanksgiving curriculum. Okay. And this one is called Still Thankful, Even in 2020. So There's a lot of things this year that we don't give thanks for, even though we should. I mean, Paul reminds us to give thanks in all circumstances. And there are positive things we can see in all of these. But, you know, a lot of people are busy complaining and arguing and fighting over things. But we're going to remind people that there are 4 things. I mean, there's a lot more than that. But there's 4 huge things that we can always give thanks for. We can give thanks for who God is. We can give thanks that he wants to be in a relationship with us. And we have prayer that we can talk to him. So that's number 2. 3, we can always give thanks for Christ and for the cross. And 4th in this lesson is that we can give thanks that God didn't leave us alone, that he gave us the Holy Spirit to be with us, to comfort us, to teach us. And that one's also going to have some challenges. So weekly challenges that go along with the lessons to really get your kids practicing gratitude. Sorry, the desk is really moving. No, I have a very small desk and a big toddler.
I'm testing you here. I'm testing you. Can you?
To get kids practicing gratitude and just really encourage them to be thankful. So that'll be released mid-October so that you can have it ready for November. And then on November 1st, this whole year, my husband and I, me writing, my husband encouraging, and a great friend of mine illustrating, have been working on an Advent book. And it's a storybook, 25 stories. There's a family devotional guide that goes along with it, with activities for younger and older children, that walks through the Bible, the storyline of the Bible, from creation to the cross, showing why Christ came and why he came at the perfect time. And along with this book, this will be a hardbound book. We'll also be selling it in an ebook format. But along with this book, we are also going to have a coloring book that'll be available for families and churches, and a 4-week curriculum for the month of December that will help your church walk through it. What we would love to see is churches using this. If the lights go out, my son is getting ready to unplug the lamp on the other side of the room. But what we would love to see is a church encouraging families to use the book and the devotional at home for the whole month. And then on those 4 weeks, come together, review what they've been learning. And there'll be 4 specific lessons looking at the promise of Christ. And then ending Christmas week talking about the birth of Christ and the fulfillment of the promise. So I'm like over the moon excited about this. This all started last Christmas when I realized I was a mom and I needed to figure out how to teach my son the story of Christmas. And so we started putting it together, and I've partnered with a friend in South Africa who is a phenomenal illustrator. Her name is Dee Dee, and she's done these drawings that draw you into the story. For example, the story of Noah. This is one of my favorites. She has large hands coming out of the clouds, so obviously representing God, holding a book. Inside the book, she has the story, like a scene from Noah.
Uh-huh.
So you've got water, you have the ark on the top, you have the rainbow kind of hidden behind the rain cloud, showing
Okay.
that the promise was already there. And then at the very bottom, she has like the word sin in like crumpled buildings. I mean, she has so many details that even just looking at the picture can lead to a 10-minute discussion with kids like about the story. Sorry, lamp is getting ready to be on the
Understand.
floor.
Well, and
Yeah, so we're thrilled about this and can't wait to get all of that out to you. I think it's going to be a great resource for families, for churches, for anybody that's looking for a way to just really remember what Christmas is about.
absolutely. Well, yeah, I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about that because I was going through the schedule just this week. We were saying, okay, more faith in October. Still
Still
thankful,
thankful, or thankful
even in
still.
2020.
Yeah.
And then, is it time yet?
Is
I
it
mean,
time
I think
yet?
these are 3 great months to share the gospel with children. And as this crazy year, just today, every day there's new news about how terrible this year is.
Yeah.
And
I had to get off Facebook already this morning. I was like, no,
Yeah.
not going to do it.
Not going to do it. This is the time when Christians we don't need to stick our head in the sand, but we need to stick our head in the Bible.
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and remember that our God is faithful and just, and he's going to keep his promises to us through Jesus Christ. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And Bethany, Obadiah's having a great day.
He
At least
is.
he's not crying.
He's not
At least he's
crying.
not crying. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching. And that code is
Thanks,
more
everybody.
faith,
More faith.
20% off. And we'll see you next time.
Perfect. Sounds good.
And I need to push the